It begins with a whisper. A whisper in the suburbs, in small towns, in the kitchen of a once solid middle-class home. The whisper says, something's wrong. Prices climb, jobs vanish, security slips away. You see it in the eyes of teachers, nurses, factory workers, people who did everything the old rules asked of them. They worked, they saved, they followed the path. Yet today they feel trapped. One setback from ruin, one medical bill from disaster, one downturn from falling through the cracks. What if I told you this isn't just luck or bad timing, but that the middle class is disappearing in America? And not quietly. This is one of the most consequential shifts in our society, one that threatens not just wealth, but identity, democracy, the very idea of fairness. In this video, we'll travel inside the crisis, to the homes, the data, the decisions that shaped it. And we'll confront a startling truth. The middle class isn't just fading, it's being hollowed out. Stay with us, because the story you're about to hear will change how you see America's future. It's the quiet unraveling of the American dream. Once upon a time, the middle class was the heartbeat of America, a powerful symbol of stability, dignity, and hope. It represented something sacred, the belief that if you worked hard, played by the rules, and saved what you could, you'd have a good life. Not a luxurious one, but a comfortable one. The kind of life where you could own a modest home, raise a family, take a vacation every now and then, and send your kids to college without drowning in debt. But that dream, that quiet promise of fairness, is vanishing before our eyes. And the most chilling part? It's not vanishing with a bang, but with a slow, silent fade. For decades, the middle class has been shrinking, slipping, eroding under the weight of forces most people never saw coming. Prices rise, wages stall, and families who once felt secure now teeter on the edge of survival. The cost of everything, housing, healthcare, education, childcare, has surged, while paychecks have barely budged. This isn't just a story of money, it's a story of identity, of what it means to be American, and how the foundations of that identity have been quietly hollowed out. In the years after World War II, the middle class didn't just exist, it thrived. America was booming, factories were busy, unions were strong, and hard work paid off. A single income could buy a home, support a family, and even leave room for a savings account. There was balance, there was hope, there was pride. But then something shifted, slowly at first and then all at once. The 1970s brought oil shocks, inflation, and a new era of global competition. Factories began to close, jobs went overseas, and the steady paychecks that built the middle class began to vanish. At the same time, a new philosophy took hold in Washington, one that said the best way to help everyone was to help those at the top. Trickle-down economics, they called it. Cut taxes for the wealthy, deregulate industries, and prosperity would supposedly flow down to everyone else. It didn't. Instead, wealth concentrated at the top, while wages for ordinary workers stagnated. The average American found themselves running faster just to stay in place. Two-income households became a necessity, not a choice. Families borrowed more, worked longer, and saved less. Yet even with all that effort, it somehow never felt like enough. By the 1990s and 2000s, the illusion of prosperity was maintained through one thing: credit. Cheap mortgages, easy loans, and an endless flood of credit cards gave the appearance of wealth. But it was built on sand. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, that illusion came crashing down. Millions lost their homes, their savings, and their faith in the system. Wall Street recovered quickly. Main Street never truly did. And that brings us to today. The America of the 2020s is an entirely different world. One where the middle class fights just to survive. The median income has barely moved in decades, but the cost of living has exploded. The price of a home is now out of reach for millions. The average rent in many cities eats up half of a worker's paycheck. Healthcare bills are enough to push families into bankruptcy. College degrees that once guaranteed stability now come with crushing student debt. You can feel it everywhere. In the anxiety, the exhaustion, the quiet desperation of ordinary Americans who wonder why they can't seem to get ahead. They did everything right, yet the finish line keeps moving. And as prices soar and paychecks stagnate, the once solid ground beneath their feet turns to quicksand. But beneath the numbers lies something deeper, a sense of betrayal. The middle class didn't just vanish because of bad luck. It was designed this way. Policies that favored corporations over workers, tax codes that rewarded wealth instead of labor, and a financial system built to extract rather than empower. All conspired to squeeze the middle until there was nothing left to give. Meanwhile, the rich have never been richer. In the past few years alone, billionaire wealth has surged by trillions, even as millions of working Americans struggle to pay rent or afford groceries. The divide has become more than economic. It's psychological. It's a chasm between two Americas, one that owns assets, investments, and influence, and another that rents, borrows, and hopes. And it's reshaping everything: our cities, our politics, our culture. The places that once defined the middle class, the suburbs, the small towns, the manufacturing hubs, are fading. The communities that were once filled with stable jobs and affordable homes are now shadows of what they used to be. Yet amid the struggle, something new is happening. People are adapting. The middle class of old may be fading, but a new kind of middle is emerging, one that looks very different from the past. It's made up of freelancers, digital entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and creators, people who refuse to play by the old rules of work and wealth. They're building new forms of stability outside the system, through investing, online businesses, and independent income streams. They're rejecting the traditional definition of success, not chasing status symbols or job titles, but freedom, flexibility, and control. For them, the new dream isn't a white picket fence, it's financial independence. Still, this transition isn't easy. For every person finding a new path, there are millions trapped in the old one, burdened by debt, rising rents, and stagnant pay. And unless something changes, that divide will only grow wider. The latest data shows that the share of Americans who identify as middle class has dropped below 40%, the lowest in US history. That means most people no longer see themselves as secure, even if they once did. The middle class, long the heart of democracy and the stabilizing force of society, is being squeezed out of existence. And when the middle disappears, so does balance. Economies polarize, politics radicalize, and trust erodes. Because a country without a strong middle class isn't a country built on opportunity, it's one built on survival. The story of the disappearing middle class isn't just about economics. It's about what kind of nation America wants to be. Is it a land where wealth determines worth? Where a small few live in abundance while the majority struggle to get by? Or can it find a way to rebuild that bridge, to create a society where effort once again leads to reward, and where ordinary people can dream without fear of falling? The truth is, the old version of the middle class may never return. The world has changed too much. But the values it represented, fairness, hard work, stability, and hope, still matter. They are worth fighting for. And maybe, just maybe, the next generation can reimagine the American dream. Not as something promised, but as something built anew. Because the middle class isn't just disappearing, it's being reborn, in new ways, with new rules, and in a new world that demands resilience like never before. The dream isn't dead, it's simply changing its shape. And the question now isn't whether the middle class can survive, but whether America can, without it. Early this year, the cracks became harder to ignore. In the first quarter alone, U.S. household wealth shrank, slipping from $170.9 trillion to $169.3 trillion. The loss wasn't just abstract. It came from a $2.3 trillion decline in equities and another $200 billion in real estate value. Many families who believed their homes or investments were cushions instead watched the safety net tremble. That fall came at a time when the broader economy was already under strain. Retailers and consumer data began flashing warnings. The middle-income consumer, once confident, pulled back. In August, confidence among those earning $50,000 to $100,000 dropped sharply, moving into anxiety territory typically reserved for lower-income households. Meanwhile, the official income data showed only the faintest flicker of movement. In 2024, the median household income in the U.S. rose by just 1.3%, reaching $83,730, essentially where it stood before the pandemic. The top 10%, meanwhile, saw real gains. Politically, tensions are rising. A new congressional report warns that tariffs recently imposed under the Trump administration have weakened job growth and hollowed out middle-class roles. especially in goods-producing industries. The labor force's uncertainty and instability are being accentuated by policy shock. At the same time, budget proposals put forward in Washington would slash programs essential to middle and low-income households, from Medicaid to food assistance to Pell Grants. The proposed cuts are unlike anything seen in decades, with critics warning that they would shift the burden heavily onto the backs of those least able to bear it. In sum, the signs are no longer subtle. The middle-class squeeze is no longer theoretical. It's showing up in shrinking wealth, stagnating incomes, battered confidence, and political choices that deepen division. As we move forward, keep these tensions in mind. These are not background details. They are the live wires that charge this story with urgency. The middle class isn't disappearing somewhere far off. The tremors are happening right now, in this moment, and their echoes will be felt for generations. The truth is, the disappearance of the middle class isn't a mystery. It's a mirror. A reflection of decades of choices, trade-offs, and shifting priorities that put profits before people, and speculation before stability. It didn't happen by accident. It happened one policy, one loophole, one quiet decision at a time, while most Americans were simply trying to live their lives, working longer hours, paying the bills, raising their families, trusting that if they kept their heads down and did what was right, the system would take care of them. But that system changed. The rules changed. The rewards changed. And now, millions of ordinary people find themselves standing on ground that feels unstable, a place where opportunity no longer feels guaranteed, where success is less about effort and more about access. Yet, in every great story of decline, there's also the seed of renewal. Because America's strength has never come from its wealth alone. It's come from its people. From ordinary men and women who refuse to accept decline as destiny. From teachers who still show up, truck drivers who keep the country moving, small business owners who build from nothing, and parents who sacrifice everything for their children's future. This is not the end of the middle class, it's a crossroads. And what happens next depends on whether Americans rediscover what made that middle class so powerful in the first place. Unity, fairness, and the belief that we rise together, or not at all. If you're watching this, you might feel like the odds are stacked against you. Maybe you're working harder than ever and somehow falling behind. Maybe you've lost faith in the idea that the system still rewards effort. But here's the truth. Waiting for the system to fix itself won't work. It never has. It's time to rebuild, from the ground up. That means learning, adapting, and refusing to play by rules that were designed to keep you just comfortable enough to stay quiet. It means owning something, knowledge, skills, assets, that no corporation or government can take away from you. It means demanding accountability, not in slogans or headlines, but in your vote, your voice, your choices, and your community. The new middle class won't look like the one that came before it. It won't be built on a single paycheck or a single job. It'll be built on independence, on creativity, resilience, and collaboration. It'll be built by people who refuse to wait for permission to build wealth, to create opportunity, to live free. The old version of the American dream might be fading, but that doesn't mean the dream is gone. It means it's time to redefine it, to make it something real again. Because the dream was never about being rich. It was about being secure. It was about knowing that if you worked hard, you could build something lasting, that your kids could climb higher than you did, that your effort meant something. So, to the American people, don't let the story end here. Don't let the middle class become a memory. Support policies that protect workers, not just shareholders. Invest in yourself and your skills. Help your neighbor. Teach your children that value doesn't come from wealth, but from contribution. Because the middle class isn't disappearing, it's transforming. And whether it returns stronger or weaker depends on what we do next. The fight for the American dream isn't over. It's just entering a new chapter. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real story begins. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you found this useful, a like would be fantastic, and subscribing helps me keep creating content you'll hopefully enjoy. Please share your experiences and any questions in the comments. I always try to read and respond. Your support keeps this channel going. Until our next video, take care and have a wonderful day.